The Force is old and full of shadows.
The air in the Chancellor's private office crackles with energy. A blinding web of Force lightning dances across the room, illuminating the elegant Republic red decor with strobing flashes of stark white and hot blue. The sharp scent of ozone and burning circuitry stains the air, and smoke wafts from charred sections of the walls where stray lightning has struck. In the center of the chaos stands Jedi Master Mace Windu, his jaw set in grim determination. His amethyst lightsaber blade is raised, humming steadily as it catches the brunt of Darth Sidious's wrath. Each bolt of dark energy slams against Windu's blade, only to be repelled with an electric snap and hiss, scattering into harmless sparks that scorch the floor at his feet. Sidious, the kindly facade of Chancellor Sheev Palpatine now fully shed, snarls in exertion. His once handsome face has twisted into a mask of fury and malice, skin creased and eyes burning yellow from the effort of channeling dark power. 3 Jedi bodies lie motionless on the polished office floor around him. Masters Kit Fisto, Agent Kolar, and Saisi Tien, Windu's companions, cut down in the opening seconds of the confrontation. Mace Windu alone remains to face the Sith Lord. He grits his teeth, muscles taut as he braces against the Sith lightning pouring forth. Through the Force, Master Windu can feel how close the fight is balanced. Vapad, his chosen lightsaber form, allows him to channel the fury of Sidious's assault and reflect it back. But even Mace can sense the darkness pressing hungrily at the edges of his control. The two adversaries are locked in a battle of wills given physical form. Blue-white tendrils of hateful energy colliding with the unwavering purple sword of the Jedi. Just steps away, Anakin Skywalker stands at a fateful crossroads. He has never felt more helpless, or more conflicted. His chest heaves as he draws ragged breaths, heart hammering against his ribs. Fingers clenched white-knuckle around the hilt of his own lightsaber. Anakin holds the weapon ignited but hesitates to intervene. The Chosen One watches the deadly struggle before him, with turmoil in his soul. His mind is a storm nearly as violent as the crackling energy splitting the air. Fear, raw and primal, twists his insides. Fear for Padme Amidala, his secret wife whose fate he has seen in nightmare visions. Fear of losing her drives him to the brink of desperation. And fear for himself, of the darkness he has flirted with in his quest to save her. That fear now flares brightly as he witnesses Master Windu apparently poised to destroy the only person Anakin believes might hold the knowledge to cheat death. Anakin's blue eyes flick from the Sith Lord, face contorted in theatrical pleading as he simulates weakness, to Master Windu who stands over him with blade raised. The cacophony of crackling energy dies down as Sidious's onslaught falters. Smoke curls from the Chancellor's sleeves and the sizzling lip of the shattered window behind him. Outside, a million lights of Coruscant's cityscape glimmer in the night beyond the office, and a gust of cool air blows in, billowing the curtains. The sudden relative quiet presses in on Anakin's ears, broken only by Sidious's ragged panting and Mace's own strained breathing. The pause stretches for a single, fraught moment. Moments earlier, as Windu parried the last blast of lightning back into Sidious's face, melting away the Chancellor's civilized mask to reveal the withered Sith beneath. Mace had leveled his blade at the fallen tyrant. "You are under arrest, my lord," he had declared, voice like iron. But now his resolve has hardened into something even sterner. He knows how many Jedi have already perished by this Sith's hand tonight. And he knows the depths of Sidious's influence, how far his corruption of the Senate and the courts likely reaches. Windu's expression is grim, dark eyes blazing with righteous purpose. His blade remains unwavering at the Sith Lord's throat as Sidious cowers on the floor at the tip of it. I give up." The Chancellor whimpers feebly, voice thin and rasping. His shoulders hunch, and his hands claw at the ledge behind him, as though too weak to continue. His eyes, however, still burn gold with hate, even as he affects a mask of submission. Windu is not fooled. The Karun Master's voice drops to a low, lethal register that cuts through the hiss of singed air. "You're too dangerous to be left alive." Every word vibrates with conviction. He draws back his lightsaber, preparing to deliver justice at the edge of a blade. On the floor, Sidious's lip curls into the barest hint of a snarl. His golden eyes flick toward Anakin even as he cringes, playing the victim. Anakin sees the deception, the coiled serpent behind the facade, but he also hears Padme's name echo in his memory, the promise of salvation Sidious dangled before him. Only Sidious's knowledge of the dark side might save Padme from the death Anakin foresaw, That belief still clings to him, fueling his desperation. Palpatine's earlier words ring in his mind. I have the power to save the one you love. You must choose. And in Anakin's heart, chaos reigns. It's not the Jedi way, Anakin pleads hoarsely, desperation cracking in his voice. He takes a half step forward. His own blade remains ignited in his mechanical right hand, but pointed uncertainly toward the floor. His left hand reaches outward, as if to physically stay Windu's killing strike. He must stand trial, Anakin insists, voice torn between duty and dread. Yet even now, Anakin's eyes are fixed on Sidious. The thought of losing Padme's last hope presses on his chest like a weight. I need him, he finally blurts out, the words exploding forth in an anguished cry. Windu's gaze flickers ever so slightly toward Anakin, sensing the younger man's torment. The tension in the room draws taut as a wire. Mace's blade is drawn back to strike down the Sith, and Anakin stands poised on a razor's edge between light and dark. Then, it happens. Anakin staggers as if an invisible hammer has struck him between the eyes. The force around him shudders, rippling like a stone cast into a pond. Anakin's senses abruptly tunnel inward. The blue glow of Mace's lightsaber and the flicker of city lights beyond the shattered window all fade to a dim haze. Time itself seems to grind almost to a halt. He doesn't even feel the shock of his lightsaber slipping from his prosthetic fingers and deactivating. Distant clattering marks it falling to the floor. A flood of heat and ice washes over him in alternating waves. Anakin's knees buckle. He barely registers Master Windu's startled voice calling his name over the pounding of blood in his ears. In an instant, Anakin is no longer truly standing in the Chancellor's office. Or rather, he is. But his mind is somewhere else entirely. In the space of a heartbeat, the Force pours into Anakin something vast and limitless. A torrent of memories not yet lived. A cascade of sights and sounds and emotions so powerful he cannot tell if he is dreaming or dying. Visions explode behind Anakin's eyes. Nightfall at the Jedi Temple. Anakin sees himself marching up the temple steps at the head of the 501st Legion of clone troopers. His younger face is a cold mask of resolve twisted by grief and anger. The clones at his back open fire on Jedi Knights and Padawans alike. Blaster bolts sizzle through the halls as innocents fall. Anakin's own lightsaber, red not blue, slashes through Jedi who had once been his friends. Even Battlemaster Sin Dralik himself falls beneath his blade, cut down while trying to protect his students. In the carnage, he hears a small voice cry out, Master Skywalker, what are we going to do? The screams of younglings echo in high-ceilinged chambers as he advances with merciless purpose, his only answer the hum of his crimson saber. Terror and regret war within him, even as, in the vision, he forces himself onward, deeper into darkness. The coppery smell of blood and scorched electronics chokes him. He can feel the heat of burning archives, and see the library's golden light turned to an inferno. He all but chokes on ash as the scene shifts. Mustafar's hellscape. Now Anakin stands on a river of fire beneath a sky of smoke. The air is burning. Waves of volcanic heat roll over him. Across a span of molten rock stands Obi-Wan Kenobi, betrayal and sorrow etched on his face. Padme lies collapsed nearby, tears glistening on her cheeks as she begs them to stop. But Anakin, eyes yellow with Sith fury, ignites his blade against his former master. A whirlwind of clashing sabers ensues atop unstable structures sliding into lava. Anakin's hatred propels him, making him stronger for a time, but Obi-Wan's blade prevails. In a flash of unbearable pain, Anakin feels his legs severed, his remaining arm sliced off. Searing agony, unlike anything imaginable, consumes him as his body tumbles onto the black sand at the lava's edge. Flames catch on his clothes and hair. Fire engulfs him. He feels his flesh bubble and char, the unbearable heat eating him alive. Obi-Wan's anguished voice rings in his ears. You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. The words offer no solace in the inferno. The pain is beyond comprehension. Anakin's screams become a terrible, inhuman wail as his world burns and then goes black. The Iron Tomb. Anakin awakens in darkness. He is entombed in a prison of durasteel, the iconic black armor of Darth Vader. He lives, but every moment is torment. His lungs rasp through a ventilation grill, each mechanized breath a reminder of his defeat and enslavement. Needles prick his raw flesh. His limbs, lost on Mustafar, have been replaced by cybernetic prosthetics that ache with phantom pain. Enclosed in this life support suit, he is more machine than man. Condemned to endless servitude, he sees flashes of the next 20 years, marching at the Emperor's side as the Galactic Empire rises from the Republic's ashes. Planets bend to the Emperor's tyranny, citizens cower at the mere mention of Vader's name. Anakin beholds himself choking a man mid-air for insubordination, slaughtering surviving Jedi in shadowy industrial ruins and far-flung worlds. He feels the dark side coil around what remains of his soul, cold and all-consuming. Yet under the mechanized mask, he is screaming in endless, silent anguish. Every night in this future, he is haunted by nightmares of Padme's death and the monstrous things he has done in the Emperor's name. The suit's built-in agony receptors make sure he never forgets his pain or his master's absolute control. Hope is a distant memory. He is a captive to Palpatine's will and his own self-loathing. Confrontation on Bespin, a new vision, years later. Anakin, as Vader, stands on a narrow catwalk in Cloud City, lit by strobing red alarms. Before him is a young man with a lightsaber, Luke Skywalker, his son, though Anakin did not know it at first. They duel ferociously amid the howl of wind from a bottomless reactor shaft. Vader is stronger, more experienced. He batters the youth with relentless power attacks. Anakin hears himself snarl through his vocabulator, "There is no escape. Don't make me destroy you." Finally, with a swift strike, he shears the boy's hand from his wrist. Luke cries out in pain and falls to the railing, defenseless. In this vision, Anakin hears his own deep, mechanized voice pronounce the terrible truth. "No, I am your father." Luke's scream of denial reverberates through the cavernous shaft as he throws himself into the void rather than turn to the dark side. The image of Luke's face, wild with despair, brands itself onto Anakin's consciousness as the scene fades. A last stand on the Death Star. The throne room of the second Death Star now materializes. Palpatine, older, more withered and cruel, looms over a prone Luke, hurling torrents of blue Force lightning into the young Jedi. Luke writhes in agony on the floor, crying out for mercy. Vader stands at his master's side, observing through the black lenses of his mask as his son is tortured. Conflict beyond conflict racks Anakin's soul. The Emperor's laughter slithers through his mind. Luke's pleas, "Father, please," cut through the decades of darkness like shafts of light. In a sudden swell of desperate resolve, Anakin makes his choice. He lunges forward and grabs the Emperor from behind. The lightning burns into Anakin as Palpatine screeches in rage and fear. With unyielding resolve, Anakin lifts the shriveled Sith Lord and throws him down into the Death Star's reactor chasm. The Emperor's body disintegrates in blinding light. The last thing Anakin sees in this future memory is his own charred, smoking form collapsing, his suit sparking, life support failing. Redemption and farewell. Anakin finds himself without his mask, barely breathing as Luke, grown, compassionate, tears in his eyes, cradles his father. Anakin's vision fades, but before darkness takes him, he looks upon his son with his own eyes. Luke's face blurs with Padme's in Anakin's fading sight, so much love and pain in both of their expressions. Anakin hears himself whisper, with his last strained breath, that Luke was right, that there was still good in him. There is peace as everything goes dark, the Force embracing him at last. The flood of visions releases its hold as abruptly as it came. The Force snaps back into the present moment. Anakin finds himself on his knees on the office floor, one hand braced against the cool marble tile to keep from collapsing entirely. His heart is hammering, and cold sweat drenches his skin under his tunic. He gulps in a lungful of air that tastes of ozone and smoke, but blessedly lacks the chemical tang of a respirator. Trembling, Anakin blinks rapidly, vision swimming, unsure for a split second if he truly is back in his younger body. But the weight of a familiar Padawan braid against his shoulder and the solid feeling of human flesh on his left hand confirm it. He is whole, unburned, no mask, no armored suit imprisoning him. Across the room, Mace Windu hesitates, sensing something monumental has shifted in the Force. Through his attunement, Windu perceives a sudden shatterpoint, an unexpected crack in the fate that had been barreling toward disaster. Moments ago, Anakin was a whirlwind of conflict and fear, a potential threat at his back. Now, in the Force, the young man's aura feels changed, steady in a way it wasn't before, though roiling with pain and remorse. Mace's eyes narrow, the tip of his lightsaber still trained on the cowering Sith Lord, but his focus split. "Skywalker?" he asks tightly, uncertain of what is happening to the Chosen One. Anakin slowly rises to his feet. His legs are shaky, and tears he hadn't realized were flowing trace hot lines down his cheeks. The faces of those he loves and those he harmed flicker through his mind. Padme, Obi-Wan, even Master Windu before him, whom he saw himself betray in that other life. The surge of shame and grief nearly buckles him again. But beyond it, a new clarity is rising like dawn breaking over endless night. Anakin's fear remains, especially for Padme, but it is overtaken by resolve. He will not become that monster. He will not let any of it come to pass. Not the enslavement of the galaxy, not the purge of the Jedi, not Padme's death by his own hand. And the first step stands mere feet away, shriveled and seething on the floor. Anakin's hand reaches out through the Force, and his fallen lightsaber hilt rattles across the floor into his grasp. He grips it tightly. He steps forward to stand alongside Master Windu. Facing Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord's eyes widen slightly at the sudden change in Anakin's demeanor. Where once stood a conflicted, desperate would-be apprentice, there is now a man awakened, haunted by the ghost of a future that must never be. Anakin's blue blade thrums to life once more as he raises it and assumes a battle stance next to Mace. His voice, low and deadly calm, addresses Windu without taking his eyes off Palpatine. "You're right," Anakin says, and there is raw intensity in his tone. He's too dangerous to be left alive. The office duel Sidious's famed weakness evaporates in an instant. Seeing Skywalker now allying himself with Windu, the Sith Lord's eyes narrow to feral slits. His lips peel back from his teeth in a snarl of pure hatred. "So be it," he hisses, voice distorted and inhuman. The pretense of the kindly old Chancellor is gone. In his place crouches Darth Sidious, Dark Lord of the Sith, cornered and deadly. Without warning, Sidious thrusts out a claw-like hand. A concussive force push erupts from his palm, aimed at the two Jedi. Windu and Skywalker brace themselves. Mace brings up a force barrier as Anakin reinforces his body with the Force. Still, the telekinetic blast throws both Jedi back. Mace skids a few meters across the polished floor, maintaining a defensive footing. Anakin, less experienced at absorbing such kinetic attacks, stumbles into a backward roll, colliding hard with the Chancellor's desk. The heavy wooden desk cracks under the impact, papers and hollow projectors toppling to the floor. With a guttural scream, Sidious uses the distraction to summon a new weapon. From a decorative relief on the wall, a sculpted frieze of senators, a slim silver lightsaber hilt rattles loose and hurtles into the Sith's outstretched hand. The moment it slaps his palm, Sidious ignites a blade of fiery crimson. He springs at Mace Windu with unnatural speed, a blur of black cloak and red light. Sidious spins through the air with acrobatic grace, his fighting style now fully unleashed. He comes at Mace with Form 4 Ataru's ferocity, an onslaught of rapid slashes and whirling leaps. Each strike is intended to overwhelm with sheer speed and unpredictability. But Mace Windu is the master of Vapad, and he meets the Sith's ferocity head-on. Purple and red blades clash in a frenzy of light. Sidious's attack flurries are blistering. His lightsaber, a crimson streak aimed at Mace's neck, then his heart, then his legs in rapid succession. Windu counters each with fluid precision, his amethyst blade moving almost faster than sight. Sparks fly with every violent collision, scorching the marble floor and walls. Mace's jaw is clenched, but inside he is calm, letting Vapad channel the fury of Sidious's assault. He steps into the Sith's strikes, feeding the darkness back on itself with each parry. Anakin regains his feet amid the cyclone of battle. Heart pounding but focus sharpening like a blade, he dashes forward to rejoin the fray. Sidious whirls and slashes at the approaching knight, attempting to keep him at bay. Anakin meets the Sith's red blade with his own blue, the impact jolting up his arms. Now two Jedi press Sidious from opposite sides. Anakin moves into a Form V Gemso attack sequence, a series of powerful overhand strikes designed to batter through an opponent's defense. He puts all the strength of his cybernetic right arm behind each blow. Sidious grunts under the rain of heavy strikes, momentarily driven back by the combined force of Skywalker's power and Windu's precision. On the other side, Mace takes the opening to slash at Sidious's flank, forcing the Sith to spin and parry purple with red. The office becomes an arena of blur and color. Sidious's snarling face reflects in the transparent steel shards strewn across the floor as he whips around with astonishing agility, trading blows with both opponents. Anakin attacks high, mace low. Their blades weave a deadly pattern through the air, casting wild shadows on the scorched walls. For the first time, the Sith Lord finds himself on the defensive, yet he is far from helpless. Sidious punctuates his lightsaber strikes with bursts of dark force power. A sudden jab of lightning at Anakin's legs to keep him from circling behind, a telekinetic yank that nearly pulls Windu off balance. The luxurious office furniture is reduced to splinters around them. A large transparent steel window panel, already weakened from the initial lightning storm, shatters completely when Sidious, in desperation, flings an entire chair at the Jedi. The chair smashes through the glass and vanishes into the Coruscant night. A rush of wind howls into the room, carrying distant traffic noise and sirens. Sidious's attack intensifies, and in the midst of whirling sabers he unleashes his venomous tongue. "You have no idea the power you oppose," he snarls through clenched teeth as his red blade grinds against Mace's amethyst. Sparks spray across Sidious's distorted features. "I offered you glory, Skywalker," he hisses at Anakin between strikes, voice dripping with scorn. "I offered to save Padme. Without me, she will die." The words are a poisoned dart aimed at Anakin's heart. For an instant, Anakin's concentration wavers at the mention of Padme's name. A flash of anger and fear flickers in his eyes. Sidious feels it and seizes the advantage. Sidious sees an opening and suddenly pivots on Windu, putting the Jedi Master between himself and Skywalker. In the same motion, the Sith extends his fingers toward Anakin and unleashes a concentrated blast of Force lightning. Ah! Anakin raises his blade just in time. The blue plasma catches some of the Sith lightning, but not all. Strands of deadly energy snake around the saber and bite into Anakin's body. He seizes up as agony lances through him. The young Jedi is hurled backward by the onslaught, smoke curling from his scorched tunic. He crashes to the ground and lies there groaning, muscles twitching from residual arcs of electricity. For an instant, in his disorientation, he is back inside that black suit in his mind, pain coursing through him as the Emperor's lightning fried his life support systems. But this time, he forces the phantom memories away and clings to consciousness. Breathing heavily, Sidious turns back to Windu. His red blade remains lit in one hand, crackling lightning still dancing along the fingers of his other. The Sith Lord's face is contorted in a mask of fury and exertion, pale, withered flesh stretched over a visage now truly monstrous. The earlier burst of his own reflected lightning has melted away Palpatine's benevolent guise, revealing sunken eyes and deep creases carved by the dark side. He is the very picture of evil incarnate. "You have lost, Sidious," Mace Windu declares, advancing one measured step at a time. His lightsaber is held in a steady guard position, ready to intercept either blade or lightning. The wind whipping through the shattered window touzles his cloak, but his stance remains firm. Confidence and contempt ring in his words. The oppression of the Sith ends here. Sidious bares his teeth. Desperation creeps into his eyes. For all his power, he is outmatched. The relentless tandem of Windu's mastery and Skywalker's raw strength has driven him to the brink. But the Dark Lord still has one last gambit. With a sudden flourish, he disengages from Mace and springs backward onto his broad desk. In the same motion, he raises his comlink to his lips. "Commander Fox," Sidious snarls into the device, voice crackling with manic intensity. "Execute Order 66. Wipe out the Jedi. All of them." Windu's eyes widen in alarm. Recognizing the code words of doom, he lunges forward with all the speed the Force lends him. But Sidious is already screeching and firing another volley of lightning to cover his retreat. Blue bolts crash against Windu's purple saber just feet from the desk, holding the Jedi Master at bay. The Sith's lips curl in triumph as he sees Windu struggle under the renewed onslaught of dark energy. The office floods with strobing light and shadow as Sidious pours his hatred out, driving Windu back a step. But Sidious has forgotten about Anakin. Behind him, the Chosen One is not defeated. He has risen to a crouch, teeth gritted against pain. Hearing the Chancellor's order, the very command that in another life had doomed the Jedi, fills Anakin with righteous fury. Summoning every remaining ounce of strength in the Force, Anakin launches himself off the floor. He hurtles toward the desk in a blur of speed. Sidious senses him a second too late. The Sith spins, eyes wide with panic, and redirects his lightning at the oncoming Skywalker. Jagged tendrils of energy scorch Anakin's shoulder inside, drawing a snarl of pain from him, but Anakin does not slow. Channeling the momentum of his leap, he swings his lightsaber in a powerful two-handed arc. The brilliant blue blade cleaves through Darth Sidious's defenses. With a flash of sparks, Anakin's lightsaber shears through the conlink and the hand holding it, then continues unimpeded deep into Sidious's torso. The Sith Lord's yellow eyes go wide in shock. His lightning falters and dies as his severed hand and the smoking comm device clatter onto the desktop. Anakin lands atop the desk beside the Chancellor, breathing hard, blade still blazing in his hands. Sidious reels, a charred wound smoking through his fine robes. He opens his mouth as if to speak, perhaps to beg, perhaps to curse. But Anakin does not hesitate. With an angry roar, he swings again in a blur of blue light, and Darth Sidious's shriveled head separates from his body. The Sith Lord's corpse collapses onto the desk, then slides off onto the floor with a thump. His severed head, its face locked in an expression of horrified rage, rolls and comes to rest against one of the fallen Senate statues. The sudden silence is deafening. Only the hiss of the two Jedi lightsabers remains, illuminating the scene of carnage in flickering purple and blue. The immediate aftermath, the adrenaline of combat still surges through Anakin as he stands over the fallen Sith, chest heaving. For a moment, neither Jedi speaks. Darth Sidious, Sheev Palpatine, the once untouchable Chancellor of the Republic, lies dead at their feet. They have won. They have achieved in seconds what the entire Jedi Order could not in years of war. Yet no triumph lights their faces, only exhaustion and a touch of disbelief. Anakin deactivates his blade. His mechanical hand trembles ever so slightly as he clips the hilt back to his belt. The enormity of what just happened crashes down on him. He has a second chance. Palpatine's evil will not consume the galaxy. But even as relief and astonishment flood through him, Anakin sways on his feet. The lightning burns along his shoulder and side throb dully, and the psychic weight of the nightmare he lived in those visions is crushing. He suddenly feels every ache and bruise tenfold. Before he can stumble, Mace Windu is at his side, steadying the younger Jedi with a firm hand on his arm. "Skywalker," Mace says, staring intently into Anakin's face. The Korun Master's expression is stern, but there is new respect and concern in his eyes. "Are you all right?" It's as close to gentle as Mace Windu has ever sounded with Anakin. Anakin nods shakily. "I'll survive," he manages, voice hoarse. Up close, Mace can see the haunted look in Anakin's eyes and the tear tracks on his cheeks. There is pain etched in the younger man's features, but also grim satisfaction and resolve. Anakin's gaze drifts to Sidious's twisted corpse. "It's over." The words are half question, half statement, tinged with disbelief. Mace follows his look and gives a curt nod. For him, yes. We'll have to deal with the fallout, but... He allows himself the smallest weary smile. "You did well, Anakin." The compliment is measured but genuine. "Together we did what the entire Jedi Order could not." "You." Windu lets out a breath, almost a chuckle of astonishment. Perhaps the prophecy was true after all. The Sith are gone, for now at least. Anakin's throat tightens. Fulfilled the prophecy. Brought balance to the Force. By destroying the Sith here and now, he has done what was foretold, on his own terms, not as Sidious's pawn, but as himself. His whole life, so many in the Order doubted him, including Master Windu. To hear validation in Mace's voice now feels surreal. A conflicted mix of pride and guilt swells in Anakin's chest. He isn't sure he deserves praise, not after seeing the atrocities he committed in that other life. He averts his eyes. "Master Windu, His voice breaks, the thought of how close he came to siding with Sidious twisting like a knife in his gut. If not for... A sudden burst of static from the slashed comlink on the desk interrupts him. Through the crackling output, garbled words can be heard. "Fox to all units, Jedi, treason, shoot on sight." The device sparks and falls silent, but the message is clear enough. Mace and Anakin exchange a look of dawning alarm. Palpatine managed to get the order out, at least in part, and the clone troopers are already moving to obey. As if on cue, a thunderous bang reverberates from the corridor outside, rattling the smoke-stained glass. It's the sound of the outer office door being breached by explosives. An instant later comes the pounding of armored boots and muffled shouts. "Go, go, go! Secure the Chancellor's office! The clone troopers are coming! Mace's jaw sets. We need to get out of here, now. Without another word, he strides toward the entrance, purple blades springing back to life with a snap hiss. Anakin grimaces and summons the Force to numb the pain in his scorched arm. He ignites his lightsaber once more and follows at Windu's back. Despite his exhaustion and the confusion in his mind, a determined resolve steels him. They still have a mission. The Jedi must be warned, and the clone's treachery stopped. The reinforced office door blows inward in a shower of sparks just as the two Jedi reach it. A flash of light and a deafening boom send the durasteel door hurling off its frame. Through the billowing smoke, white-armored figures surge in. Coruscant Guard shock troopers in their distinctive red-marked armor, DC-15 blaster rifles raised. At their head is Commander Fox, barking orders through his helmet's audio projectors. Take them down, for the Chancellor. The clones open fire immediately. The spacious office becomes a killbox of screaming blue blaster bolts. But Mace Windu is already in motion. With preternatural grace, he leaps forward, saber whirling to form a fan of amethyst light. He deflects the first salvo of bolts back toward the doorway, striking two troopers before they can even clear the threshold. Anakin moves with him, less elegant but equally fierce. His blue blade bats aside incoming fire, protecting their flank as they fall back deeper into the ruined office. Traitors! One of the shock troopers yells, squeezing off another burst. Anakin winces at the venom in the soldier's voice. These clones had fought side by side with the Jedi for years, had called Anakin General Skywalker with respect, and now they spit the word traitor without hesitation. The betrayal is like a knife to the heart, but he cannot dwell on it. He channels the hurt into focus. Swinging his saber in tight arcs, he sends a trio of blaster bolts back to their origin. 3 clones drop, smoking holes in their chests. Commander Fox ducks behind the doorframe, narrowly avoiding a reflected shot. Set for kill, he snarls to his men, if they weren't already. More clones flood the outer hall, taking cover behind pillars and the durasteel door's twisted remains. They pour volley after volley into the office. Bit by bit, the Jedi are forced to yield ground, moving back behind the Chancellor's wrecked desk for cover. The opulent chamber is rapidly being trashed. Statues shatter under blaster impacts. Tapestries ignite into flames. The air thickens with acrid smoke. Mace deflects 2 more bolts into the ceiling and risks a glance at Anakin. Skywalker, we can't hold them off forever, he calls over the shriek of blaster fire. Even for 2 of the greatest Jedi, the sheer number of troopers converging on the Chancellor's office is overwhelming, and more will be coming. Anakin, jaw clenched, knows he's right. Through the Force, he can sense an avalanche of hostile intent approaching, the entirety of the Coruscant Guard perhaps converging on this location. They need an escape route, fast. Anakin's eyes dart to the shattered window wall where cool night air still gushes in. They are dozens of stories above ground, but there's a narrow maintenance ledge just outside, and not far below it the curving durasteel frame of a service catwalk encircling the building. It's a risky path, but better than being cornered here. There, Anakin points through the broken glass. With a silent understanding, both Jedi break from cover and sprint full speed toward the gaping window frame. They leap through, disappearing into the Coruscant night amid a hail of blaster fire. They hit a narrow maintenance ledge just outside, boots skidding on the slick durasteel. For an instant, it seems Anakin might tumble into the dizzying abyss, but he catches a wall strut and regains his balance. Wind howls around them at this vertiginous height. The glow of endless traffic streams below casts flickers of light across their figures as they edge along the ledge. Suddenly, blaster bolts streak out from the shattered office window above. Several clone troopers have reached the blown-out frame and are taking aim at the fleeing Jedi. Go, go, Mace urges, voice raised over the wind. He and Anakin sprint along the narrow balcony as lethal bolts slam the durasteel rails at their heels, spraying sparks. Anakin risks a glance over his shoulder, and with a swift gesture he thrusts out his mechanical hand. The durasteel frame of the window buckles, partially collapsing the opening and buying a few precious seconds as the clones scramble to find a new firing angle. Up ahead, a maintenance gantry connects the Senate office building to a neighboring spire. Emergency lights bathe the gantry in a faint red glow. Beyond it, Anakin spies a small landing pad, likely used for service vehicles. This way, he shouts over the roaring wind. The 2 Jedi dash across the exposed gantry as the structure trembles under distant explosions rocking the city. They reach the pad, finding a couple of unattended utility speeders docked there. Without hesitation, Anakin leaps into the pilot seat of the nearest one, an open cockpit model splattered with grease and Republic insignia. Mace vaults in beside him, and Anakin's hands fly over the controls. A new sound rises above the wind, the whining engines of a clone gunship swinging around the building's far side. Its searchlights lance through the pre-dawn darkness, seeking the fugitives. "Hang on!" Anakin yells. He guns the engines and the speeder jolts off the pad just as a volley of blue lasers from the gunship sizzles past, scorching the Duracrate where they sat a heartbeat before. The utility speeder plunges into the chaotic Coruscant skylanes, diving through a canyon of skyscrapers and disappearing amid hundreds of civilian vehicles. The clone gunship sweeps its spotlight fruitlessly across the streams of speeders, having lost its target. Only once they're safely away does Anakin allow himself a breath. He glances at Master Windu, who gives a single nod of grim approval. Their escape was narrow, but they are free, and now their focus turns to the Jedi temple looming in the distance. Anakin pushes the throttle forward, and the speeder races toward the towering spires bathed in the glow of city lights. The temple run. The airspeeder whistles through the Coruscant night, weaving between streams of air traffic at breakneck speed. Anakin grips the controls tightly, knuckles pale against the dark metal. Mace Windu crouches in the passenger seat beside him, his eyes scanning the cityscape ahead. The Jedi Temple's majestic spires come into view, illuminated against the night sky, and to Anakin's horror, he sees smoke rising from its base. Flashes of blaster fire flicker around the grand entrance steps, tiny bursts of light in the distance. Even from afar, the Force carries to them echoes of panic, pain, and betrayal rippling from the temple's direction. Anakin's jaw clenches. The temple, his home since childhood, is under attack by its own protectors. It's a nightmare made real, one he witnessed in visions and is desperate to change. He pushes the speeder's throttle to its limits, the vehicle shuddering as it zips through the last canyon of skyscrapers. "Hang on," he warns. With a sharp bank, Anakin angles toward one of the temple's side courtyards rather than the main landing pad, which he can see is swarming with armored figures. He spots a relatively clear stretch of terrace and brings the speeder in hard, repulsor lifts screaming as they soften the descent. The craft slams down amid a shower of sparks. Before it has fully settled, the two Jedi leap out. They sprint across the terrace toward the sounds of battle. Rounding a colonnade, they come upon a chaotic scene at the temple's grand entrance plaza. The wide marble steps leading up to the main doors are littered with bodies, both clone troopers and a few Jedi who fought desperately to defend the temple. The great bronze doors themselves stand blown open, smoke billowing from the hallway beyond. At the foot of the steps, a fierce firefight is underway. A cluster of Jedi Knights, Padawans, and temple security guards in their golden masks have formed a defensive perimeter behind toppled statues and pillars. At the center of their line, Master Shak Ti whirls her blue blade in defiance, gracefully deflecting volley after volley of blaster fire and rallying the defenders around her. Dozens of clone troopers have taken cover behind their assault vehicles on the plaza. An armored ATT walker lumbers in the flickering torchlight, its mass driver cannon blasting chunks out of the temple's facade with each concussive report. Mace and Anakin waste no time. With a shared look, they launch themselves into the fray. Mace dashes toward the left flank, where a squad of clones is pinning down several young Padawans behind a fallen piece of cornice. As he charges, he spots one teenage apprentice venturing a peek over the rubble, only to be targeted by a clone at point-blank range. Mace reacts instantly, thrusting out his free hand. A powerful wave of telekinetic force energy bowls over the trooper just as his finger squeezes the trigger, sending the shot wild. The cascading push plows through the entire front line of clones, knocking them flat like tenpins. Before they can recover, Mace leaps directly into their midst, purple blades spinning in decisive surgical arcs. Armor and weapons clatter as troopers fall in every direction under his assault. Not pausing, Windu turns toward the roaring ATT walker, whose cannon continues to pound the temple steps. With preternatural agility, he bounds onto the walker's chassis in a single force-augmented leap. The vehicle's crew frantically swivels the turret, trying to dislodge him, but Mace is already carving through the durastial plating. His lightsaber plunges into the walker's body, slicing into its mechanical innards. With a shower of sparks and a screech of torn metal, the massive tank shudders to a halt, its cannon falling silent mid-charge. Mace somersaults off the disabled walker as it belches smoke from its hull, rejoining the melee on the ground. Anakin charges straight up the center, heading for the main doorway. A trio of clone troopers move to bar his path, raising their rifles. "Hold it right there!" one barks. But Anakin does not slow. In one flowing motion, he somersaults over them, evading their shots, and lands behind their line. Before they can even turn, his blue saber cuts them down in rapid succession. He is fueled by urgency and protectiveness. The vision of terrified younglings flash burned into his mind, drives him onward. At the entrance, a Jedi temple guard wielding a double-bladed yellow pike is dueling a pack of clones who manage to rush the doorway. The guard's face is concealed by a ceremonial mask, but the fatigue in his stance is evident. He's outnumbered and tiring. Anakin appears at his side just as a clone's electrostaff swings toward the guard's back. Anakin intercepts the blow, catching the crackling staff on his lightsaber and shattering it. With a forceful kick, he sends that trooper tumbling down the steps. "General Skywalker!" the temple guard exclaims in relief and surprise behind his mask. Anakin nods and moves fluidly into position, back to back with the guard, covering each other as they fend off the remaining intruders at the door. Lightsaber and saber staff whirl in deadly harmony, cutting down clone after clone in the arched doorway. Within a minute, the immediate entryway is momentarily clear of hostiles. "Seal the entrance!" Anakin shouts. The guard and two surviving Jedi Knights rush to haul the bronze doors shut, but one panel is warped and partially blasted off its track. It won't fully close. In the lull, more Jedi scramble to fortify the gap with toppled benches and debris. Anakin surveys the seam inside the temple's atrium. The high-vaulted hall is hazy with smoke. Mighty columns have been sheared in half, and the patterned floor is cratered with blaster scorches. A few bodies of young Padawans lie sprawled where they fell defending their home. The sight wrenches Anakin's heart. But there is no time for grief. Screams and sporadic blaster fire echo from deeper within the temple. The clones have already penetrated further. Mace Windu comes skidding through the doorway a moment later, panting slightly and flecked with ash. "Most of the troopers outside are down or scattered," he reports briskly, purple blade still in hand. "How is it in here?" "Not good," Anakin replies, wiping sweat and soot from his brow with the back of his hand. "They're inside. We have to purge them out and protect the younglings." Even as he speaks, a muffled explosion rocks the interior toward the training wing, followed by faint cries. Windu nods, face grim. He knows the stakes. "We need to warn the others before it's too late," he says. Already he's moving toward the comm center, located in a side alcove. "I'll send an alert to every Jedi in the field. Go. Secure the younglings, Skywalker." Anakin doesn't need telling twice. "Yes, Master," he shouts. Without hesitation, he turns and sprints down the broad corridor that leads toward the dormitories and classrooms, where the youngest of the temple's inhabitants would be taking shelter. Two Jedi temple guards fall in wordlessly behind him for backup, yellow blades ignited. Through the Force, Anakin can feel clusters of frightened youths and beleaguered defenders spread throughout the complex. He races past familiar halls now scarred by blaster fire, past toppled busts of ancient Jedi and smoking craters in mosaicked floors. As Anakin races through the smoke-filled corridors, he passes other Jedi engaging pockets of clone intruders. In the archival hall, he glimpses Master Sin Dralig, the temple battlemaster, fiercely dueling a squad of clones alongside his apprentice. The clone troopers fall one after another under Dralig's whirling green blade, protecting a cluster of young Padawans behind him. Anakin doesn't pause. He knows Dralig has that front secured. He leaps over rubble and the fallen forms of temple guards, pressing on toward the presences of children he senses ahead. Suddenly, blaster fire erupts just around the next bend, accompanied by the high-pitched cries of children. Anakin's heart seizes. He barrels around a corner into one of the younglings' classrooms. The scene before him is one out of his darkest nightmares. A half-dozen younglings, some no older than 5 or 6, huddle in a corner, trembling. In front of them stands Jedi Master Jurok, lightsaber ignited but stance faltering. He is wounded, smoke rising from a blaster burn on his side. Facing them are 4 clone troopers leveling rifles, fingers already tightening on triggers. Time seems to slow. In that instant, Anakin sees not only this reality, but the horrific vision overlaying it. Himself in black armor, lightsaber cutting down innocents in this very room. His stomach turns. Not this time. With a snarl born of desperation, Anakin hurls his lightsaber. The spinning blue blade scythes across the classroom in a flash of light. Before the clones can fire, the saber's arc cuts through them like a reaper's scythe. 4 helmets tumble from 4 shoulders almost in unison. The troopers drop, dead, without ever firing a shot. The lightsaber, guided by the Force, returns to Anakin's outstretched hand. He rushes to Master Jurok's side and catches the older man as he sags with relief. Jurok's green blade flickers off and clatters from his grasp. Master Skywalker, Jurok gasps, clutching his injury with a bloody hand. The younglings, I couldn't. It's all right, Anakin assures him, easing the injured master to the floor gently. He quickly appraises the wound, painful, but not immediately fatal. I've got them now. Just rest. The small children peek up at Anakin with wide, tearful eyes. Recognizing him, one little Nautolan boy breathes in awe. General Skywalker, another human girl, perhaps age 7, bursts from the group and clings to Anakin's leg, sobbing. We were so scared, she whimpers. Anakin feels a lump in his throat. He kneels down, gently placing a reassuring hand on the young girl's back. The other younglings shuffle closer to him like ducklings finding their parents. He looks upon these innocent faces, alive and safe, and his memory of being the monster who slaughtered younglings sears his heart again. His eyes sting with tears, but he blinks them away and musters a gentle, steady voice. You're safe now. I won't let anyone hurt you. Master Jurok manages a faint smile of relief at the sight. Anakin helps him sit upright against the wall, then quickly peeks into the corridor beyond for any additional threats. Sensing none immediate, he returns to the children. Listen to me, young ones, he says softly but firmly, meeting each frightened gaze in turn. We need to move you all to a safer place. Stay together and stay right behind me, understand? The younglings nod in shaky unison, clutching each other's hands. Anakin gently scoops up the smallest one to a Togruta girl with tear-streaked cheeks into his arms. With his free hand, he lifts his lightsaber once more, ready to defend them with his life. Surrounded by the cluster of children and supporting the limping Master Jurok, Anakin escorts them out of the ruined classroom. All through the temple, the furious battle is finally winding down as the Jedi rally. Under Master Windu's direction, a temple-wide distress call is broadcast, and Jedi across the complex coordinate their counterattack. In the main halls, wounded Padawans are ushered to safety by surviving knights. Pockets of clone resistance are isolated and overwhelmed. By the time Anakin guides Master Jurok and the younglings to a med station in the inner courtyard, the worst of the fighting is over. The coppery tang of blood and scorched plastoid hangs in the smoky air. The once pristine temple is scarred by war, but it still stands. Anakin finds Master Dralig and a group of Jedi Knights forming a sweep to ensure no straggling clones remain. Dralig's eyes widen with relief seeing Anakin emerge with the younglings in tow. The Battlemaster gives him a firm nod of gratitude before moving off to continue securing the corridors. Anakin passes his trembling charges into the arms of a waiting Jedi healer and the kindly librarian Jocasta Nu, who has set up an impromptu safe zone in the archives. Jocasta and her assistants immediately huddle the children under warm blankets and soothing words, guiding them deeper into a hidden study chamber. The older woman offers Anakin a grateful, proud smile as she shepherds the younglings away. Anakin, exhausted but filled with profound relief, returns Jocasta's nod and turns to see what is left to be done. Within minutes, clone blaster fire subsides entirely. The defenders, though battered, have held the temple. Through the Force, Anakin can feel dozens of Jedi lives still shining, with more flickering in distress across the galaxy, but not snuffed out wholesale as they were in his vision. They did it. He and Mace stopped the worst from happening in time. Nearby, Master Windu finishes transmitting the all-clear and emergency orders through the temple beacon. The danger on Coruscant is contained. For now. The purple glow of his lightsaber fades out, and Mace looks across the ruined hall to meet Anakin's gaze. Both men are breathing hard, covered in sweat and soot. Across the distance, a wordless understanding and kinship passes between them. They saved each other tonight, and far more than each other. High above the central spire of the temple, Master Windu activates the Jedi beacon. His fingers fly over the controls as he sets the emergency protocol to broadcast on all channels. Taking a steadying breath, Mace speaks into the console, voice echoing through deserted comm centers galaxy-wide. This is Master Windu. Execute emergency order. AU, all Jedi, disengage and retreat. The Chancellor was a Sith Lord, The clone army has been compromised. I repeat, the clones have been ordered to turn on us. Trust in the Force. Trust your instincts. Survive. Help is coming. He sends the message with a press of a button, setting it to repeat on a loop. Within minutes, the effects ripple across the galaxy. On Kashyyyk's lush forests, Grandmaster Yoda pauses amidst battle, as his clone commanders behind him silently raise their weapons to fire at his back. But the ancient Jedi already senses their intent through the Force. In one swift motion, he leaps and decapitates both would-be assassins mid-trigger pull. The surrounding Wookiee warriors roar in alarm, then rally to protect the small green Jedi as blaster fire erupts. Yoda's survival is assured by the timely warning echoing in his comlink, and the Force itself guiding him. On the sinkhole world of Utapau, Obi-Wan Kenobi, perched atop a lizard mount on a high cliff, is blasted off the ledge by Commander Cody's tank just as Mace's message crackles in his transmitter. Obi-Wan plummets into a deep reservoir, vanishing beneath the waters. Moments later, he drags himself out onto a bank, injured but alive, and uses the beacon's intel to evade his clone pursuers. Some Jedi across the stars are less fortunate. Masters like Aayla Secura on Felucia and Plo Koon over Cato-ne Moria are attacked without warning and fall before the alert reaches them. Many others, however, heed the call in time. Some go to ground, vanishing into shadow. Others band together with loyal allies to resist. The Jedi Order, though grievously wounded, will not be entirely extinguished this dark night. As the hours creep toward dawn, the battle for the temple winds down. Fires are extinguished, and the surviving Jedi regroup amid the devastation. The grand halls, once pristine, are marred with blaster craters and strewn debris. A heavy sorrow hangs in the air for the lives lost, but also a grim determination. They have survived the night and won a fragile victory. Outside, the first light of morning glimmers over the cityscape, revealing armored clone reinforcements holding positions at a cautious distance from the temple. With their supreme commander dead and reports of Jedi resistance, the clones appear hesitant, awaiting further orders rather than launching another full assault. For now, a tense standoff prevails around the temple's perimeter. In the temple's main courtyard, Master Windu, Anakin, and a handful of other weary Jedi tend to the wounded and assess the situation. Younglings gather around the elderly Master Jocasta Nu, who soothes them despite her own shaken state. The librarian has opened a secret vault in the archives for the children to hide in, and Master Urok and other healers begin treating injuries. Temple guards drag clone bodies respectfully to one side, while a few captive troopers sit disarmed under watch, looking dazed as though waking from a nightmare. Anakin stands near the open doorway, gazing out at the steps where a dozen Jedi and twice as many clones now lie dead beneath the early sun. His tunic is scorched, his left gauntlet smeared with blood that isn't his, and he feels exhausted to his bones. And yet he is restless. His heart yearns to see Padme, to know that she is safe, and to beg her forgiveness for the horrors he almost brought upon her. But duty still anchors him here. He steels himself, knowing there is more to do. A sudden whine of engines draws his attention upward. A sleek diplomatic shuttle painted in senatorial colors is approaching, flanked by 2 Senate Guard escort craft. The vehicles descend slowly toward the plaza, their occupants clearly hoping not to be fired upon. Anakin senses no hostility, only concern and resolve. Through the Force, he recognizes one presence immediately, Senator Bail Organa of Alderaan. Mace Windu notices as well. "Hold fire!" he calls to the nervous temple guards on the steps. It's an ally. The shuttle touches down, and Bail Organa emerges, hands raised to show he comes in peace. The Alderaanian senator's face is drawn and weary, but determined. He steps over fallen clone helmets and debris, approaching the temple's entrance at a brisk pace. "Master Windu!" "Anakin," he calls, clearly relieved at the sight of them alive. "Thank the stars you're safe." Anakin moves down a few steps to meet him. "Senator Organa," he says, offering a respectful nod, though his voice is hoarse with fatigue. "You're taking a great risk coming here." Bail glances around at the aftermath of battle, the charred walker smoking in the plaza, the slain on both sides, and his expression is grave. "After what I witnessed last night, I had to. The clones, I saw them gun down a young Jedi in cold blood outside. I tried to intervene, but..." He swallows, haunted by the memory of Padawan Zet Jukasa's last stand. "They threatened to kill me, too. I managed to get away." He takes a breath. "I've spent the last few hours rallying any sympathetic senators I could. The situation at the Senate is chaotic. Mace Windu steps forward, his presence as authoritative as ever, despite a cut across his forehead and the grime of battle on his robes. What is being said? He asks tersely. How is the Chancellor's death being explained? Bale lowers his voice. Officially, he's being hailed as a martyred hero. Word is out that he was killed, but the explanation is muddled and misleading. Some clone reports claim the Jedi staged a coup and assassinated him. Many senators are in shock or denial. Massa Meta has called an emergency session for this morning, but rumors are flying everywhere. Bale grimaces. I've been trying to spread the truth among those I trust that Palpatine was the traitor, not the Jedi, but without evidence, it's an uphill battle. People are scared, confused, prone to believe the worst. Mace's jaw tightens. We have the truth. Palpatine was Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord we've been searching for. He gave that clone kill order himself as a final strike. We were only defending ourselves and the Republic. He glances at the clustered Senate shuttle and guard craft beyond Bale, noting a few other familiar faces disembarking to join Organa, Senators Mon Mothma of Chandrila and Padme Amidala of Naboo among them. We'll need you and your allies to help us get that across. Organa nods firmly. I believe you, and so do Padme and Mon and others. But many won't without proof. He rubs a hand over his mouth, worry lines deep on his brow. Massa Meta and the Chancellor's loyalists are already spinning this against you. They're urging martial law, calling the Jedi traitors. There's talk of marshalling more clone legions to secure the peace, he grimaces. Coruscant could turn into a war zone if we're not careful. Anakin's hands clench unconsciously. More clone legions? They cannot allow the slaughter to start anew. What can we do to stop it? He asks, tension clear in his tone. Bale looks between him and Windu. If the Senate can be convinced of the Jedi's innocence before any further conflict, they can rescind Palpatine's orders. But we need proof of his treachery to sway the undecided. Something undeniable. Master Windu's gaze shifts toward the distant Senate district where the senatorial complex gleams in the morning sun. Palpatine's office and files might contain something. We'll search for records connecting him to the Sith communications, artifacts, anything. Testimony from surviving separatist leaders could also expose his plot, if we can reach them before they scatter. One crisis at a time, Bale cautions gently. First, we stop the fighting here on Coruscant. I'll head to the Senate session and do what I can. Master Windu, if you or another council member can address the Senate, that might turn the tide. Many colleagues are still in disbelief. They need to see the Jedi as voices of reason, not enemies. Mace inclines his head. I will go myself, and Master Shak Ti will accompany me as a witness. Shak Ti, who survived the night's attack with only minor injuries, steps forward upon hearing her name and nods firmly in agreement. Bale offers a grateful smile. May the Force be with us all, then. And Anakin, he turns to the younger Jedi, a gentle warmth in his eyes. You've been through more than anyone. Perhaps it's best if you're with Senator Amidala when we address the Senate. Your account will matter to the truth. But more than that, she needs to know you're all right. He glances over his shoulder, where Padme now stands at a distance, anxiously watching Anakin. Anakin follows his gaze to Padme. For the first time since the siege began, he truly senses her through the Force, a beacon of worry and love, shining just beyond the battle's aftermath. The mere sight of her, alive and unharmed, nearly buckles his composure. He realizes how badly he needs to go to her, to hold her, to tell her everything. But he hesitates, guilt and duty still gnawing at him. If Master Windu needs me here, Windu, discerning his inner conflict, interrupts with a measured nod. Go, Skywalker. Senator Amidala needs you, and you need her. We'll manage the rest here and at the Senate. There is no reproach in Mace's tone now, only understanding and a hint of compassion. Anakin has more than proven himself this day. Emotion wells in Anakin's chest. He bows deeply. Thank you, Master. Bale gestures back to his shuttle, where Padme is already rushing forward across the plaza to meet Anakin halfway. The two lovers collide in an embrace, Padme's arms thrown around Anakin's neck and his around her waist. For a moment, time stops and they are just husband and wife, reunited. Mace and Bale turn discreetly away to give them a sliver of privacy. Windu begins organizing the other Jedi and allies to secure the temple and gather evidence for the Senate, while Organa beckons Mon Mothma and Shakti to join him for the Senate session ahead. Clutching Padme tightly, Anakin feels her trembling against him. Anakin, I was so worried, she whispers, voice thick with tears she's been holding back for hours. When the comm went dead, I didn't know if you were... She breaks off, pulling back to cradle his face between her hands. Her brown eyes search his, taking in every bruise and burn. You're hurt, Padme murmurs, thumb ghosting over a streak of dried blood at his temple. I'm all right, Anakin manages softly. A strained smile touches his lips. The reality of her in his arms is almost overwhelming after the nightmares he experienced. It's over, Padme. Sidious. Palpatine. He's gone. We did it. Padme's eyes widen as relief and astonishment flood her delicate features. She had heard pieces from Bail, but now it sinks in fully. Palpatine was the Sith Lord, she breathes, shaking her head. How could it be? Disbelief, betrayal, anger at Palpatine war for control of her voice. Anakin's expression hardens with lingering anger. He manipulated us all, orchestrated the entire war from both sides. All of it, just to destroy the Jedi and seize power. Bitterness edges his tone, but beneath it is deep hurt. Palpatine had been a mentor and friend. To learn it was all a lie still cuts deeply. Padme slides her arm down from his shoulders to take his hand. Gently, she guides him toward the shuttle's open ramp, onto the sunlit platform overlooking the temple grounds. Come, we'll have time to sort it out, she says, her voice tender but leaving no room for protest. Right now, you need rest. She eases him down onto a cushioned bench inside the shuttle's cabin. Anakin suddenly realizes how unsteady he feels. The last of his adrenaline is ebbing, leaving him ravenously hungry, bone-tired and aching all over. Padme sits beside him, not letting go of his hand, fingers entwined with his as if reassuring herself he's truly there. Across from them, Mon Mothma and Bail speak quietly with Shakti and Master Windu, preparing for the Senate. But their voices are a dull murmur in Anakin's ears. All his attention is on Padme. The way her eyes skim over every bruise and burn on his body, the way her other hand hasn't left contact with him, resting over his heart as though to feel it beating. Bail told me some of what happened, Padme begins carefully. That the clones turned on the Jedi, that you and Master Windu stopped Palpatine. Her eyes glisten as she looks at him, sooty, exhausted, but alive. He said you saved a lot of lives, Anakin. There is pride in her voice, and awe. Anakin turns his gaze to the shuttle's open doorway, where outside the once nightmarish scene is finally quiet. Saved lives? The notion feels hollow after all he's seen in those visions. We stopped Sidious, he concedes quietly. And we warned the others in time, I hope. But many, his voice catches. He doesn't finish the sentence. The loss of even a single youngling tonight feels like too many. Padme squeezes his hand. I'm so sorry, she says, her voice thick. She knows how deeply Anakin cares, especially for the innocent. News of any fallen youngling or knight will cut him to the core. She moves closer, shoulders touching his, hoping to lend him some strength. They sit in silence for a moment. The gentle hum of the shuttle systems and the muffled sounds of activity outside fill the space. Anakin closes his eyes, letting the calm of Padme's presence wash over him. Here, in this moment, away from smoke and screams, the reality of dawn breaking feels tangible. He and Padme have shared many peaceful dawns on Coruscant during the war, stolen moments of normalcy amid chaos. It feels like a lifetime ago. But beneath the fragile peace of the shuttle cabin, Padme can sense an undercurrent of tension thrumming through Anakin's body. His hand in hers is trembling faintly. She shifts to face him fully. Annie? What is it? She asks softly. What aren't you telling me? At her gentle question, Anakin's composure frays. He opens his eyes and turns to meet Padme's gaze. There is so much love and worry in her beautiful face that it nearly undoes him. He doesn't deserve it. Not after the things he's done in those visions, or almost did in reality. His throat works, struggling to find words. Padme, he begins, voice trembling despite his effort to steady it. There's something that happened to me in the Chancellor's office. At the crucial moment. He swallows, throat dry. How can he possibly explain the enormity of it? His organic hand tightens around hers, and he feels the cool metal of the Japper-snippet pendant he carved for her long ago, resting against her warm skin beneath her collar. The reminder of their long bond gives him courage. The Force, it showed me things. It gave me memories. Memories of a life I haven't lived and will never live. A life that would have happened if I had made the wrong choice last night. Padme's brows knit in confusion. Memories? Of what? What did you see? She prompts, keeping her voice calm, though his words send a chill through her. Anakin draws a shaky breath. Already he feels the sting of tears at the corners of his eyes. Of Darth Vader, he whispers. Padme sucks in a soft gasp at the name. Anakin's face crumples. It was me, Padme. If I had turned on Master Windu, if I had saved Palpatine, I would have become his apprentice. I saw it, lived it, as if it were real. He gave me a new name, Darth Vader. He turned me fully to the dark side. We betrayed everyone. We led an assault on the temple. I killed Jedi, Padme, even the younglings. His shoulders shudder with sobs he tries to suppress. Scenes of the massacre flash behind his eyes. Tiny bodies falling by his blade, the horror on their faces. Padme gasps again, her hand flying to her mouth, her eyes glisten with tears of disbelieving horror. Instinctively she recoils half an inch. The image of Anakin, her gentle husband, slaughtering children, is momentarily too shocking to process. Anakin feels that tiny pullback, like a stab to his heart. He tries to pull his hand from her grasp, ashamed to be touching her. But Padme refuses to let go. Though her mind reels, she tightens her grip, her voice breaking. Oh, Anakin! He can't meet her eyes. Hot shame scalds him. I was a monster, he whispers. Palpatine twisted my love for you into something terrible. I thought I was saving you by betraying everything I believed in. Instead, I became a murderer. His free hand curls into a fist on his knee, trembling. I saw myself ignite my saber and cut them down, little ones who trusted me. A sob shudders through him. In the vision, I could feel their deaths on my hands. I can't ever wash it away. Padme's tears spill freely now. She releases his arm only to wrap both arms around one of his, leaning against him. Anakin, stop, she soothes, her voice trembling. Stop. Look at me. She gently pulls at him until he turns his head. His eyes are bloodshot, anguished. Padme's heart aches at the sight. You are not that person, she says emphatically, willing him to believe it. I know you, Anakin. You would never harm a child. Not the man sitting here with me now. The dark side showed you a nightmare of what might have been, but it's not real. She presses his flesh hand between both of hers, cradling it. Feel this? You're here. You chose differently. Those younglings are safe. Anakin nods through his tears, but the guilt does not vanish so easily. I know, he chokes out. I saved them this time. But I still remember being him, Darth Vader. It's like a stain I can't scrub off my soul. Padme's thumbs stroke the back of his hand in slow, comforting circles. My love, listen. Her tone is gentle but firm. The man you became in that vision, he was forged by Palpatine's manipulations and your despair. But even he had good in him in the end, didn't he? She tilts her head, recalling what he mentioned. You said, you turn back? Anakin draws a shaky breath. He hasn't yet told her that part in detail. Yes, he whispers. Years later, our son brought me back. Padme blinks in surprise. Our son? Anakin manages a fragile smile at her astonishment. In that life, you still gave birth to a boy, Luke. Saying the name brings a flicker of warmth to his ravaged heart. I didn't know about him at first. The Jedi hid him and his twin sists. He stops, realizing he's jumping ahead. Padme's eyes have gone very wide. Twin? We had twins? She breathes. Despite everything, a spark of joy and wonder lights in her expression. Anakin nods, a tear of a different kind now slipping down his face. A boy and a girl, Luke and Leia. He chuckles softly through the tears. Stubborn, brave, wonderful children. They grew up to save me from myself. Padme presses a trembling hand to her lips. Twins, a son and daughter. The knowledge is overwhelming, yet a bittersweet happiness wells up amid her sorrow. Luke, Leia, she repeats in a whisper, testing each beloved name. A shaky smile breaks through her tears. Anakin, that's incredible. His brief smile fades, guilt flooding back as more of the tale presses to be told. I only met them when they were grown, he says, voice low with regret. I didn't even know they were alive, I thought. His voice falters. I thought I'd killed you, and them with you. The twins were hidden, and I I only learned of Luke when he was a young man. He shuts his eyes, gathering strength to confess the rest. Vader was all that was left of me. I became a terror to our own children. Anakin's voice shakes with remorse. I even dueled our son, tried to make him serve the dark side at my side. I nearly killed Luke. I cut off his hand in rage. He chokes on the admission, shamefaced. But even then, he refused to give up on me. Luke still believed there was good in his father. Padme's hands tremble as she brushes a sweat-damp curl from Anakin's forehead. She struggles to wrap her mind around decades of tragedy he lived in a single night. Carefully, she asks, What happened to me in that life? It frightens her to ask, but she must know. Anakin's face crumples. Of all the horrors, this is the one he dreads confessing most. His mechanical right hand grips the bench so hard the durasteel frame groans. I killed you, he forces out, voice raw. Or I thought I did. Padme, I was so far gone, His voice shatters. I hurt you. I nearly choked you to death in my anger. Padme's eyes widened in hurt and disbelief. Her free hand drifts reflexively to her throat, as if feeling phantom pressure. She remembers the frightening intensity in his eyes back on Mustafar. When he raged about ruling the galaxy, Obi-Wan's timely appearance had diffused that moment in reality, but in the vision, he actually harmed her. Oh, Anakin. Her voice quavers. She sees the torment on his face and knows this revelation is tearing him apart. Anakin cannot bear even a glimmer of fear toward him in her eyes. He looks away, tears falling in earnest. I didn't know what I was doing, he says hoarsely. The dark side had consumed me completely. Obi-Wan tried to stop me. We dueled on Mustafar. He cut me down, left me burning on the lava bank. Anakin's left hand unconsciously rubs at his forearm, as if remembering the searing agony of lost limbs and flame. That's how I ended up in the suit. I should have died there, but Palpatine kept me alive to be his pawn. Padme listens, stricken, tears streaming silently. As terrible as his words are, she knows the man before her now is not the same as the one in that nightmare. Summoning strength, she gently turns his face back toward her. Look at me, Anakin. She waits until his anguished blue eyes meet hers. She takes his flesh hand and presses it flat over her heart. Beneath his charred glove, he can feel the steady thrum of her heartbeat. Feel that? I'm alive. You didn't kill me. A shudder runs through Anakin, as if a terrible weight lifts, at least partially, from his soul. He lets out a ragged breath, as though he had been afraid until this moment that she was only an illusion. Padme then moves his hand down to rest against the gentle swell of her belly. The warmth of her pregnant abdomen radiates through the soft fabric of her gown. Our baby is alive, Padme says, her voice filled with quiet emotion. Because you made a different choice. You saved us. As if on cue, a faint flutter of movement passes beneath Anakin's hand, the baby kicking, responding to its mother's voice. His eyes widen in awe at the feeling. A soft gasp escapes him. That simple sign of life, of his child moving, cracks through the darkness in his mind like a beam of light. A sob wells up and he leans down, pressing his forehead to Padme's belly. He wraps his arms around her waist, careful and reverent, and breaks into tears. I'm sorry, he keens against the satin of her gown, shoulders shaking. Padme, I'm so sorry for everything. Padme cradles his head to her midsection, her fingers combing soothingly through his hair. Shh, I know, she whispers, tears falling into his tousled locks. It's all right, my love. It's all right now. They remain entwined like that for a long moment, a grieving man seeking absolution in the heartbeat of his unborn child, and a wife giving all the forgiveness and comfort her heart holds. Eventually, Anakin's sobs ease. He lifts his head, and Padme gently guides him back up onto the bench beside her. She brushes damp strands away from his eyes, which seem a shade clearer now, though red-rimmed. I don't deserve you, he whispers brokenly. After what he did to you. How can you even look at me? Padme frames his face between her hands, her gaze fervent. Because I know the man I married, she says, voice steady despite the tears glistening on her cheeks. That man is good, and kind, and brave. That's who you truly are, Anakin. Not that dark apparition from a future that will never come to pass. Her thumbs gently stroked his cheekbones, wiping away tears and streaks of ash. You are the man who chose the light, the man who saved the Jedi Order tonight. who saved the Republic from Palpatine's tyranny. A faint protest forms on Anakin's lips, but Padme presses on, determination in her voice. Yes, you made mistakes in that vision, terrible mistakes, but even so you found your way back. You saved our son. You destroyed the Sith in the end. That means there was always good in you. And here, now, you didn't fall at all. She offers him a trembling smile, her eyes never leaving his. You won't become that Darth Vader. You've proven that. Anakin searches her face, his eyes filling anew with tears, this time not of anguish but of profound gratitude and love. How did I ever deserve you? He murmurs, voice husky. He pulls her into his arms again, holding her as if she's the most precious thing in the galaxy. I thought I lost you. I thought I'd never get to tell you how sorry I am, how much I love you. His voice cracks on the last words. Padme hugs him back just as tightly. I love you, Anakin. So much. Nothing will ever change that. She leans back slightly to look into his eyes, placing one hand on his cheek and the other on his chest where his heart beats strongly. We have a second chance, both of us. We'll protect our family and rebuild what's been broken. Together. He covers the hand on his chest with his own, the ghost of a smile playing on his lips. Together, he echoes softly. For the first time in what feels like eons, Anakin feels a glimmer of peace. Padme's unwavering love soothes the raw wounds in his spirit. They sit there for some time, foreheads touching, exchanging comfort in quiet whispers and gentle kisses. Outside the shuttle, the sun has climbed higher, brightening the day. In the light of morning, the nightmares of the night gradually recede. Padme eventually speaks, her tone contemplative but stronger now. We'll have to go to the Senate soon and set everything straight. It won't be easy. So many won't want to believe that the beloved Chancellor was behind everything. She sighs, worry creasing her brow. There will be investigations. Trials, probably. The galaxy will need to heal after this. Anakin nods, threading his fingers through hers. I know. There's so much to do. The war isn't even officially over yet. He thinks of the scattered separatist leadership, still at large, of the clone armies still awaiting commands or surrender, of the Jedi survivors now in hiding or regrouping far from Coruscant. So much uncertainty lies ahead. Padme offers him a small, determined smile. But we'll face it, and we'll make sure democracy is restored the right way. Her free hand drifts to her belly again almost unconsciously. For our children. The word is plural, and it makes Anakin's heart lift to hear her acknowledge it. He places his hand atop hers on her stomach, soft wonder in his eyes. For Luke and Leia, he agrees quietly. An image forms in his mind of two bright, beautiful twins, not as he first saw them, grown, grieving, hardened by war, but as they could be, happy infants cradled in their parents' arms, growing up safe and loved. It is an image so precious he almost doesn't dare believe it could come true. But Padme's presence, warm and strong beside him, banishes his doubt. Padme gazes at him, love shining through her tears. Our little ones will have their father, she says, voice gentle but filled with hope. The real him, and they'll have peace. Anakin bows his head, overcome with emotion. Padme's faith in him, in them, is like the sun itself, burning away the lingering shadows of that dreadful future. He remembers something his mother once told him when he was a boy on Tatooine. The brightest sun rises after the darkest storm. For the first time, he feels the truth of it in his soul. He draws Padme into one more embrace, kissing her forehead tenderly. I will spend the rest of my life earning what you've given me, he vows softly. Your trust and this second chance. Padme smiles through her tears and reaches up to press her lips to his in a gentle, loving kiss. When they part, she rests her head against his shoulder, and together they turn their eyes toward the horizon beyond the shuttle's open door. Outside, Coruscant's endless cityscape hums with new day activity, largely unaware yet of how narrowly darkness was averted. The road ahead is uncertain and will no doubt be fraught with challenges. But in this moment, on this sunlit platform, Anakin Skywalker knows one thing with absolute certainty. He will never let that bleak future come to pass. He has been to the brink of hell and back, and now, holding Padme Amidala in his arms, he finally steps into the dawn of a better tomorrow. A new dawn later that day, the grand convocation chamber of the Galactic Senate swirls with a storm of voices. Thousands of delegates fill the vast rotunda, their floating repulsor pods hovering in neat concentric circles under the towering dome. What should have been a triumphant session celebrating the end of the Clone War has instead devolved into chaos. Rumors and accusations crackle through the air like static. At the center of it all stands Mace Windu, the vice chair, on the Chancellor's central podium. His blue skin is visibly flushed purple with anxiety as he raises his arms for calm. "Order, we will have order." His amplified voice booms, echoed by translators in hundreds of languages. Bit by bit, the clamor subsides to a tense murmur. Windu's forked tongue flicks nervously. "Senators of the Republic," he announces gravely, "I regret to inform you that Supreme Chancellor Palpatine is dead." A hush falls. Many in the Senate did not yet know this for certain. The vice chair continues, gripping the podium rail. "There was an altercation last night in which Jedi traitors attempted to take his life. In the ensuing conflict, the Chancellor perished. A ripple of shock and confusion sweeps the amphitheater. A few senators cry out in grief or outrage. Others exchange suspicious whispers. Over 1,000 pods, lights flash as delegates signal to speak. High above, in her pod, Padme Amidala shares a look with Bail Organa and Mon Mothma. They grip the railing of their platform, bracing for the backlash. Mace Windu presses on, voice solemn and sonorous. "We are all deeply saddened by this tragedy. Rest assured those responsible will be brought to justice. The late Chancellor's vision for security and stability shall not die with him." "That's a lie!" Padme's voice rings out, clear and commanding. Gasps flutter through the hall as the young Naboo senator steps forward in her pod. Windu falters mid-sentence. "Senator Amidala, you are out of order." He begins sharply, but Padme refuses to be silenced. "So was the Chancellor," she retorts fiercely, her voice echoing. "Out of order, out of control, and ultimately, out of time." A shockwave of chatter surges. Delegates lean over rails, eyes wide at Amidala's boldness. In the Naboo delegation pod, Representative Jar Jar Binks covers his Gungan ears in dismay, recalling with horror how he unwittingly helped grant Palpatine the emergency powers that paved the way for tyranny. Mace Windu's eyes bulge. "This is outrageous," he splutters. "Have you no decency, Senator?" "How dare?" Padme holds up a hand, and the outrage dies to murmurs. She takes a deep breath, summoning all her courage and oratory skill. When she speaks, her voice carries to the highest rose. "Last night was indeed a tragedy, but not the kind you've been led to believe." Her words drop into the silence like a detonator. "The true traitor was Palpatine himself." The chamber erupts into an uproar of disbelief and anger. Senators stand in their pods, shouting down at Padme. Some call for her censure. Others yell that she's a liar or traitor herself. Windu bangs a ceremonial gavel uselessly, trying to restore order. Amid the furor, Padme looks neither intimidated nor willing to yield. Bail Organa and Mon Mothma stand at her sides in solidarity. Mace Windu points an accusatory finger. "These are baseless claims. Jedi lies and baseless accusations," he roars into his mic. "The chair does not recognize—" "I have proof," Padme interjects, her amplified voice cutting through the din. At her cue, Bail Organa activates a hollow projector in their pod. A giant hologram flickers to life above the Senate floor. The recording taken by Temple security of Palpatine's last moments. It shows the Chancellor's office overturned furniture, shattered windows, and Palpatine himself hurling force lightning at Master Windu. Gasps ripple through the Senate. Then the image changes to Palpatine's corpse, recorded later, his face deformed and unnatural, and beside him on the floor a sleek metallic cylinder, unmistakable as a Sith lightsaber. A collective gasp fills the dome as senators behold the evidence with their own eyes. "You all recognize the Chancellor's face," Padme cries out, pointing up at the hovering hologram that rotates slowly for all to see. "But did you know him at all? He was a Sith Lord, Darth Sidious, who has been manipulating the Republic and the war from the beginning." Her passionate words reverberate. Senators stare aghast at the holographic proof, Palpatine wielding sorcery and a crimson saber, the dark aura on his warped features visible even in blue hololight. Shock and denial war on many faces. "Lies! Jedi deception!" booms a voice from across the chamber. It's the senator from Kuat, one of Palpatine's staunch loyalists, rising in his pod with fury. "The hologram is a fake. Security footage can be altered." A chorus of agreement comes from a handful of other loyalist senators. Confusion and argument roil the arena. Now Mace Windu appears in Bail Organa's pod, tall and unmistakable in his Jedi robes. The presence of a Jedi Master on the Senate floor draws hushes and pointing. Flanked by Shak Ti, he stands with hands visible and empty to show he comes in peace. When he speaks, his baritone voice resonates powerfully. It is the truth. I was there. The simple statement carries weight. Palpatine, Darth Sidious, nearly succeeded in destroying the Jedi Order. He instigated Order 66 to murder us all and seize absolute power. I bore witness. He slowly rotates where he stands, meeting the astonished gazes of dozens of senators in their pods. Ask yourselves, why else would the clone army turn on their Jedi generals overnight? They weren't betraying the Republic. They were following Sidious's treacherous command, meant to complete his coup. A command we managed to countermand in time. The Senate chamber crackles with uncertainty. Many senators who moments ago were shouting Padme down now whisper to each other, clearly shaken by the Jedi Master's words and the evidence before them. Senator Mon Mothma floats her pod forward and stands. Her calm, authoritative voice rings out, "The Jedi are not our enemy." She gestures toward Mace and Shak Ti. They bled for us on the front lines of the Clone War, and now evidence shows the war itself was deliberately orchestrated to eliminate them and subjugate us all under Palpatine's rule. She sweeps her gaze around, eyes flashing. We owe the Jedi our thanks, not our scorn. If not for Master Windu and his fellows, a Sith would have continued to rule us from the shadows, turning our democracy into a sham. A swell of both agreement and outrage circles the hall. Some senators clap at Mon Mothma's declaration. Others remain unconvinced, arms folded and scowling. Mas Amedda, gripping the podium until his knuckles lighten, tries another tack. Even if these wild claims are true, he splutters, the Senate cannot condone vigilante action. The Jedi had no authority to execute Palpatine. He should have been arrested and tried legally. Mace Windu's eyes flash. Supreme Chancellor Palpatine was a Sith Lord who held all authority in his grasp. He was the law, a lawless law unto himself. We did what was necessary to stop him, and we did so under his own authority. Mace reaches into his robe and pulls out a small scrolled document. Palpatine's written appointment of Anakin to the Council and empowerment of the Jedi to hunt the Sith. The Chancellor empowered me to combat the Sith menace. That is exactly what I did. Mace passes the scroll to Bail, who projects it for all to see, the Chancellor's signature glowing. A ripple of understanding passes as many recognize the official seal. Turning slowly, Mace continues, voice solemn, I was not alone. Countless beings fought against Sidious's tyranny last night. Clone troopers even, who realized the truth and laid down their arms. He gestures toward a side entrance of the Senate. A pair of Senate guards escort forward a clone trooper in full Coruscant guard armor. Commander Fox, freshly removed from temple custody for this moment, gasps ripple as a clone is brought onto the Senate floor under guard. Fox's helmet has been removed, revealing a young, haggard human face. He looks nervous but determined as he steps forward to address the Senate. This soldier executed Palpatine's command to attack the Jedi Temple, Windu announces, his voice echoing. He has since laid down arms and agreed to testify about what really happened. A tense hush falls as Fox lifts his chin. Though sweat beads on his temple, he speaks loudly enough to carry. The Chancellor gave us the order, he says, voice wavering but audible in the vast space. He called the Jedi traitors, told us to kill them all. We just obeyed. We had no choice. Shame fills the clone's expression as he scans thousands of disdainful or horrified eyes. It was wrong. All of it. The raw, penitent admission sends a palpable shock through the Senate. Senators who moments ago were jeering now stand silent or exchange wide-eyed looks. In the Naboo pod, Representative Binks lowers his head into his hands, grief-stricken at how badly he misjudged Palpatine. Some openly weep, others look ill. Mas Amedda opens and closes his mouth, completely at a loss. Padme seizes the moment. She steps to the edge of her pod, her petite form standing tall. The Republic has been the victim of a grand deception, she says passionately, voice amplified strong and clear. But we have narrowly escaped a fate worse than death. Thanks to the courage of the Jedi and all those who opposed Palpatine's secret tyranny, we have a chance to rebuild. She spreads her hands beseechingly, addressing colleagues she has known for years. We must not let fear and division destroy our democracy. Let us honor those who fell by restoring the Republic, the true Republic, stronger than before. For a heartbeat, the chamber is still. Then, gradually, thunderous applause erupts. Pods upon pods of delegates rise in ovation for Amidala's words. The sound is deafening as it echoes up to the great dome. In Bail Organa's pod, Mace Windu inclines his head to Padme, admiration in his tired eyes. She smiles softly in return. The Senate's roar crescendos not just for her but for the Jedi visible beside her, a clear indication that the tide has turned. Within hours, the Senate votes overwhelmingly to clear the Jedi of all wrongdoing and repeal Palpatine's emergency powers. An interim chancellor is elected, one of Palpatine's fiercest critics, and negotiations begin with the leaderless separatist forces to end hostilities. The Clone Wars at last draw to a close. Subsequent investigation reveals that Palpatine had planted behavioral inhibitor chips in all clone troopers, an insidious failsafe compelling them to obey Order 66. This news stuns the Republic and elicits compassion for the clones, who are quickly freed from Palpatine's programming and absolved of wrongdoing. Across the galaxy, news spreads of the Jedi's survival and Palpatine's downfall. There is confusion and grief for those lost, but also celebration and hope. On Kashyyyk, the Wookiee warriors raise a victorious howl around Master Yoda as word reaches their forest that the betrayal has been thwarted. Yoda closes his eyes and senses a great shadow lifted from the Force. On Utapau, Obi-Wan Kenobi, recovering from his wounds in a Bacta tank aboard a Republic medical frigate, smiles in relief as he receives a transmission of victory from Coruscant. Jedi who survived Order 66 emerge from hiding, reunited under the light of a new day. On a distant Outer Rim world, former Padawan Ahsoka Tano hears whispers of the empire that never was, and a tired smile warms her face, knowing her one-time master chose the light at last. Even ordinary citizens, initially bewildered by the swirling reports, come to understand that the Jedi saved the Republic from an unspeakable treachery. On Coruscant, throngs of people gather outside the Jedi Temple and Senate building, holding vigils of gratitude and banners of support. For the first time in years, the Jedi are hailed openly as heroes of the Republic. Back on Coruscant, as evening falls on the same day, Anakin Skywalker walks hand in hand with Padme Amidala through the tranquil gardens of the Jedi Temple. Reconstruction efforts are already underway on the battle-scarred structure. Droids and crews work to clear rubble and patch up blasted walls. But in this moment, the couple has stolen a rare moment of peace. Golden sunset light filters through the colonnades. Padme rests her head on Anakin's shoulder as they stroll, and his arm is wrapped protectively around her waist. They pause by a flowering moonbloom tree where several small hololanterns have been hung in memory of those lost. The lanterns cast a soft, ethereal light as they sway in the warm breeze. Anakin reaches up to gently straighten one lantern that bears the names of fallen younglings. His jaw tightens, guilt flickering in his eyes, but Padme's hand covers his, lending quiet comfort. He turns to her and manages a soft, grateful smile. "I won't fail them," Anakin says quietly, conviction in his tone. "I'll make sure none of this ever happens again." A familiar voice speaks softly from behind. "And you won't have to do it alone, my friend." Anakin and Padme turn to see Obi-Wan Kenobi stepping out from a nearby archway, his bearded face gentled by a proud smile. He walks with a slight limp and a cane, lingering souvenirs of Utapau, but the warmth in his eyes is undimmed. Padme offers him a warm embrace and then, sensing the need these two brothers have to talk, excuses herself to give them space. She steps aside to speak with Bail Organa across the courtyard, leaving Anakin and Obi-Wan beneath the moonbloom tree. Obi-Wan comes to stand beside Anakin under the rustling silver-white blossoms, gazing up at the glowing hollow lanterns strung in the branches. "The temple hasn't seen a night like this in a long time," Obi-Wan murmurs, breathing in the scent of the blooms. "Peace and hope." Anakin nods, emotion catching in his throat. The golden sunset paints both of them in honeyed light. "I'm sorry I worried you, and for so much else." He cannot meet Obi-Wan's eyes for a moment, thinking of the horrors that might have been, of the duel on Mustafar that fortunately never transpired in this reality. But Obi-Wan places a hand on Anakin's shoulder. "No need for apologies, Anakin. Not anymore." When Anakin looks up, Obi-Wan's gaze is shining with affection. "You've done what the prophecy foretold. You destroyed the Sith and restored balance to the Force. You did it without falling to darkness. I always believed you could." Pride and relief radiate from Obi-Wan. I'm proud of you, brother. Anakin feels a warmth of gratitude spread through him. For years he had craved his former master's approval. Now, finally, he truly feels he has earned it. Tears prick his eyes, but they are tears of happiness. Thank you for never giving up on me, he manages to say thickly. Obi-Wan chuckles softly. I had my moments of doubt, I admit. You certainly tested my patience more than once. His wry tease turns gentle. But one never stops caring for a stubborn brother. And now here you are. His voice lowers, full of emotion. Your mother and Qui-Gon would be so very proud of you, Anakin. Anakin's breath catches at the mention of those beloved names. He swallows past a sudden lump in his throat. I hope so, he whispers. I intend to live up to their faith and yours. Obi-Wan smiles warmly. I have no doubt you will. And I'll be at your side as we rebuild the Jedi, the Republic, all of it. Together, the two men share a long, silent moment of understanding under the gently swaying lanterns. Years of brotherhood, tested by war, fear, and regret, settle back into place, stronger than ever. Obi-Wan squeezes Anakin's shoulder once more, then steps back as Padme begins to make her way back toward them. Kenobi inclines his head to her respectfully. Take good care of him, Senator, he says kindly. Padme gives Obi-Wan a bright smile. I will, Master Kenobi. Thank you for everything. Obi-Wan departs quietly with Bail Organa, leaving Anakin and Padme hand in hand once more under the moonbloom tree. Night has fully fallen now, warm and star-flecked. The lanterns illuminate the couple in a gentle glow. Anakin draws Padme close, gazing out at the skyline with her. In the distance, the Senate ziggurat and the Jedi Temple spires are lit side by side, against the night symbols of an era of renewed hope and balance. The darkness that nearly consumed a galaxy has passed, and the evening air is calm. Much work lies ahead to heal the Republic's wounds, to reform what was corrupted. But Anakin Skywalker knows he will not face it alone. With his beloved wife by his side, his children's future secure, and the Force in balance once more, he feels ready for whatever tomorrow may bring. Together they will greet the coming dawn, free at last from the shadows of the past.